Hello everyone, this is Pulkit, the history faculty at the Vedanta IS Academy. I welcome you all to the ongoing World History module for the mains examination. And last class तक हमने World War I कैसे हुआ, causes, during the course of the war का end result क्या था, everything was actually studied by us till the last class, right? So in the today's class, what we are going to do is we are going to start a new topic which is known as interwar period. Interwar period. If you remember that 1918, First World War ended, right? But in 1939, Second World War started. A war at this particular scale, at this large scale, started again. So that is something which we need to understand, that what happened in approximately 20 years, that the war of such a large scale happened again. Why exactly the measures which were taken immediately after the war did not stand much ground? क्यों exactly सारी चीजें वो fail हो गई जिनको 1918 के बाद लेके आए थे, like the League of Nations and other organizations की आगे ऐसे war ना हो? ऐसा क्या हुआ कि 20 years के अंदर एक नई war exactly फिर से start हो जाती है? That is something which we need to understand when we are talking about this interwar period, right? And as far as the notes are concerned, I have already given the notes to the management for World War I. I have given the notes for interwar period, right? All the topics which are covered in the interwar period, about which we are also going to study right now, उन सब के notes I have already given to the management, and they will upload it on the website, and then this is how exactly you can access those particular notes, right? So that is the basic idea about the notes also. और जिन अपने question check करने के लिए दिए थे, I have also checked the question and replied you कि exactly क्या changes करने हैं और क्या changes की requirement नहीं है, right? Everybody has got those particular things. So on the notes front, on everything, we are now covered. So we are going to now start and see कि 20 सालों में ऐसा क्या हुआ कि एक दोबारा उतने बड़े स्केल पे वॉर स्टार्ट होगी. इनफैक्ट उससे भी ज्यादा बड़े स्केल पे द वॉर स्टार्टेड अगेन. दैट इज समथिंग विच वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द इंटरवॉर पीरियड, राइट? नाउ लेट्स सी क्या क्या इंपॉर्टेंट इवेंट्स हमें एग्जैक्टली इसमें से पढ़ने हैं, राइट? द थिंग्स विच वी नीड टू स्टडी are Paris Peace Conference 1919, right? As I go forward, थोड़ा इनके बारे में आइडियाज आपको मैं बताता रहता हूं कि क्या है इसमें हम पढ़ने वाले हैं, और साथ में हम फिर आगे देखेंगे कि हमें और क्या क्या चीजें इंटरवॉर पीरियड में देखनी है, राइट? सो पेरिस पीस कॉन्फ्रेंस. सो पेरिस पीस कॉन्फ्रेंस क्या था कि once these particular people, central powers, that is your Germany, that is your Austro-Hungarian plus Ottoman, right? These were defeated by English plus French plus your US plus your Japan plus your Russia, right? So जब central powers were defeated by these Entente powers, what we need to understand is कि कहीं ना कहीं what we will see is agreements, treaties, right, between the defeated powers and the victorious powers, right? Whenever a war ends, what we need to see is it ends with a treaty. That is something which you have seen in modern India also, like the Battle of Buxar, which ended with the twin treaties of Allahabad, right? And this World War I will end with Paris Peace Conference in 1919, right? In this particular peace conference, mainly English and French will be deciding कि इन हारे हुए लोगों के साथ एग्जैक्टली क्या करना है और क्या नहीं करना है, एग्जैक्टली इनको कैसे ट्रीट करना है, दैट विल बी डिसाइडेड इन द पेरिस पीस कॉन्फ्रेंस, राइट? ये पीस जो है ना, द पीस, द वर्ड पीस विच इज डिफाइंड इन दिस पेरिस पीस कॉन्फ्रेंस इज मोर ऑफ अ शैम. ये सिर्फ एक दिखावा है, बिकॉज जर्मनी, ऑस्ट्रिया एंड अदर पीपल, they will be humiliated to such an extent कि exactly वो लोग दोबारा से rise करेंगे and they want to take revenge. That is why we see the rise of Hitler. That is why we see the rise of Mussolini in Italy, right? कि Paris Peace Conference, Treaty of Versailles with Germany for example, उसमें जर्मनी को इतना ज्यादा बेइज्जती करा गया था that Germany को लगा कि कहीं ना कहीं हमें इस चीज का रिवेंज लेना बहुत ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. दैट इज व्हाई वी सी द राइज ऑफ हिटलर. हिटलर एक्चुअली ट्राइड टू प्ले ऑन द immense, intense nationalist feelings of the people, right? He said the Treaty of Versailles is actually the national humiliation for the people of Germany. So we have to kind of get rid of this and also take revenge on the people who humiliated us by signing this particular treaty. तो ये सब चीजें हैं which we need to understand Paris Peace Conference के अंदर कि exactly क्या हुआ और क्या नहीं हुआ. That is something of a very, very important idea. So Paris Peace Conference is the first thing which we are going to study. Right? This is a very, very important idea. Then what we are going to study is the League of Nation. Right? We are going to study about the League of Nation. Paris Peace Conference में एक चीज डिसाइड करी गई कि अब इस वॉर के बाद कोई भी एक ऐसी वॉर नहीं होनी चाहिए जिससे इतना ज्यादा नुकसान हो. उसके लिए क्या इंपॉर्टेंट था, सारे जो इंपॉर्टेंट लीडर्स थे वर्ल्ड के, उन्होंने एक चीज बोली कि हमें एक ऐसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बनानी चाहिए जो कि वर्ल्ड के अंदर कहीं भी डिस्प्यूट हो उसके बीच में आर्बिट्रेट कर सके and then it could actually solve the problem. So League of Nations can be seen as a precursor to your United Nations organization. It can be seen as a precursor, right, predecessor to UNO. League of Nations को इसलिए बनाया गया था that कि आगे कोई और कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ना हो. अगर किसी दो कंट्रीज के बीच में कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो तो एग्जैक्टली लीग ऑफ नेशंस उसको आराम से सॉल्व कर सके. बट द पॉइंट इज लीग ऑफ नेशंस was not able to control, was not able even to put a cap on the warfare which was going on the kind of political international tensions which was going on, right? For example, when Japan attacked Manchuria in China, League of Nations was not able to do anything. That is something which we need to study in this particular topic. The League of Nations का failure was also a major contributing factor towards the Second World War. That is a very, very interesting idea, right? Then we are going to lay some light on Great Depression of 1929 in US. There was a sudden crash of economy in US. That is something which we are going to throw some light upon. Then we are going to study the most important idea in this particular topic, that is your rise of Nazism and Fascism in Germany and Italy respectively. Germany and Italy respectively. What exactly is Nazism and Fascism? ये terms हम अब बहुत ज़्यादा बार सुनने वाले हैं. So Nazism and Fascism were actually the similar ideologies, right? In fact, Nazism can trace its origin to that of Fascism. उसके अंदर होता क्या है? That there is a single dictator and everything in the country goes according to that particular dictator. आप क्या बोलोगे, आप क्या पहनोगे, आप क्या पढ़ोगे, everything in the country will be dictated by that particular person, right? And if you try and say something against his policies, the point is you will be termed as anti-national, because in this fascist and Nazism, what happens is there is no scope for criticism of the government policy, because the government tries and create such a kind of narrative कि भाई जो हम कर रहे हैं ना, that is best for the nation. चाहे वो nation की इकोनॉमी का बिल्कुल बैंड बजा रहे हो, still they will say we are doing it for the betterment of the people. And if you dare question that particular idea, अगर तुमने गलती से भी उस आइडिया को क्वेश्चन कर लिया, then the point is you are doomed, right? You are put into jail, you are actually kind of given the death penalty. और बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग एक आइडिया बताता हूं. What happens is, I'll just give an example from the book I was reading few years back. So I was reading this particular book known as 1984 by George Orwell. It has nothing to do with India. It has everything to do with the socialist Russian society, right? When Joseph Stalin was ruling, right? So George Orwell actually tells us that people in socialist Russia, they were actually told to cry in a particular manner, right? Think in a particular manner, right? And अगर डिक्टेटर के जासूसों को जरा सा भी अगर शक है कि you are not doing anything which is being listed by him or which is being like the rule of the country, अगर तुम उसके अगेंस्ट में जाते हो, then the word which was used by the author was evaporated. Evaporated means कि आप कहां गायब हो जाओगे, nobody will know, even your name, your pictures, if there are any, सब चीजें रिकॉर्ड्स में से धीरे धीरे खत्म कर दी जाएंगी. एंड आफ्टर सम इयर्स nobody will even know कि आप एग्जिस्ट करते थे. That is how exactly fascist Nazist ideologies also work. For them, everything is the state, right? For them, army is being used as a tool, as and when they want, right? They will try and state some kind of a theater, some kind of a drama when they will say कि I am being threatened. Hitler will actually kind of create a drama कि मेरी life को threat है. And according to Hitler, I am Germany, right? Hitler told people that whatever I do it for the betterment of Germany, right? So do not dare question me. And time to time वो अपनी sympathy gain करने के लिए he will try and tell people that look, मेरी लाइफ को खतरा है. और मेरी लाइफ को खतरा क्यों है? बिकॉज आई एम डूइंग गुड थिंग्स फॉर द पीपल ऑफ जर्मनी, जो कहीं ना कहीं बाकियों को पसंद नहीं आ रहा है. सो दिस वाज द बेसिक आइडिया विच वाज बीइंग देयर इन द नाजी एंड द फासिस्ट regimes of Germany and Italy respectively, right? There will be no civil rights, there will be education, emphasis on education, but only on that particular education which the dictator thinks is the best for his interest. He will try and train the mind of the people in such a manner that nobody will be like able to even question the policies of the dictator. So this is what we are going to study in this interwar period, right? So the Paris Peace Conference till the Nazism and Fascism, these are certain events which are going to lay the seeds, which are going to sow the seeds for the Second World War. किसी को बेइज्जत करो, but इतना बेइज्जत मत करो कि exactly उसमें से डर खत्म हो जाए. That was something which was done in Paris Peace Conference, right? And once, I'll tell you a very interesting incident. Once what happens is, Hitler was actually fighting in World War I, right? Hitler was fighting in World War I. So when he was fighting in that particular war, तो अब होता क्या है that उसको लगता है कि जर्मनी के साथ गलत हुआ है, जर्मनी को जीतना चाहिए था, ये सब उसको लगता है, ठीक है. तो अब क्या होता है, वो धीरे धीरे, ही वाज सच अ प्राइड नेशनलिस्ट, वो जर्मनी कहता है जर्मनी इज एवरीथिंग एवरीथिंग एवरीथिंग, ठीक है. तो एक दिन क्या होता है कि ही जस्ट स्टैंड्स ऑन अ चौराहा एंड टेक्स अ कॉपी ऑफ ट्रीटी ऑफ वर्साई व्हिच वाज बीइंग डन विद जर्मनी आफ्टर द फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर. और उस चौराहे पे खड़े होकर व्हाट ही डज इज ही एक्चुअली टेयर्स दैट पर्टिकुलर ट्रीटी ऑफ वर्साई और कहता है दिस ओनली डिजर्व्स द वेस्ट बास्केट, it should be totally and totally boycotted by the people of Germany, right? That was something which was being done by Hitler. कहीं ना कहीं अगर पेरिस पीस कॉन्फ्रेंस के अंदर जर्मनी को ढंग से ट्रीट किया जाता, अगर जर्मनी को प्रॉपरली ट्रीट किया जाता, so the World War II might have been averted. But the point is, the terms of the treaty were so harsh that the people of Germany got enraged, right? और धीरे धीरे जैसे पूरे का पूरा situation create होने लग गया, that even laid the ground for the occurrence of Second World War, right? That is something which we need to understand when we are talking about the interwar period. And last thing which we need to study about the interwar period is a very, very important landmark event in the history of the world. That is your Russian Revolution. That is your Russian Revolution. 1917 was the time when the Russian Revolution started, and it approximately went on till 1922, right? खत्म, मतलब एग्जैक्टली रेवोल्यूशन अक्टूबर नवंबर 1917 में हो गया था, बट एग्जैक्टली उसको पूरी तरीके से अपना बेस फॉर्मेशन में 1922 तक टाइम लग गया. दैट इज व्हाई आई काउंट दिस पर्टिकुलर इवेंट इन द इंटरवॉर पीरियड. And Russian Revolution is something which is I am very fascinated by, right? I just love this whole idea of Russian Revolution. So the task for you people is, if you want to understand Russian Revolution even more, right? If you want to understand Russian Revolution even more, then the point is, what you need to do is, there is a documentary of 45 minutes on YouTube. Documentary of 45 minutes on YouTube, and if you watch that particular documentary on YouTube, the point is you will be able to understand each and everything about the Russian Revolution, right? If you do not find the link to this particular documentary, let me know, I will forward you the link. अगर ये documentary अगर तुमने आराम से देख लिया, the point is you don't even need any book then, right? You just need to understand this documentary और इसके अंदर और class explanation के अंदर. After that, you do not need anything else. That is something which we need to understand when we are talking about this particular Russian Revolution. So I think there's some problem. I'll just get it done. Point is, Russian Revolution was also very important because it was one of the first revolutions in the world which took place on the ideas of Karl Marx. Karl Marx was the same person who said that capitalism must be thrown out and what we should have is socialism, right? So Russian Revolution was the first example in the world to actually showcase that particular idea, and that is something which we need to understand when we are talking about the Russian Revolution, right? Okay, so these are the things which we need to study in the interwar period, right? And along with this, what I'm going to also give you, I'm also going to give you some questions each day, right? वो भी साथ साथ में practice करते रहेंगे, right? So I am going to start that first topic in the interwar period today. That is the impact of World War I on the society and the Paris Peace Conference, right? First of all, we are going to go towards the impact and then we are going to go towards the Paris Peace Conference, right? So that will be the modus operandi for today's class from now on. Is the class working fine now? Like, let me know, because you people have been posting these things. If the class is working fine. Yes, Shubham, it was Germany which was solely responsible, right? Agree to that. बच्चे कंप्लेन कर रहे हैं मुझसे, ये रखो, ये रुका हुआ चल रहा है. Screen is missing, चीज़ क्या हो रहा है? No network issue है. Okay, now let's start with the first thing in the interwar period, that is the impact of World War I, right? We need to see the impact of World War I, right? So whenever we see impact of anything on the society, जब भी हम कोई चीज का impact देखते हैं, what we need to understand is that the impact has to be seen in mostly three phases. The impact needs to be seen in three spheres. First of all, the sphere is political impact. Political impact, then the economic, then the social, right? Social impact. These are the three spheres in which we need to see the impact of any event on a particular society. That is something which we need to understand when we are talking about the impact, right? Okay. Now let's start off with the political impact. Political impact, right? Let's see what are the political impact of the World War I. So the first political impact is end of monarchies in Germany, Austria, etc. End of monarchy in Germany, Austria, etc. Start of democratic government. Start of democratic government, right? So that is that is the first political impact of World War I. If you people remember, let's not take the example of Austria right now. Let's just focus in Germany. So Germany, what will happen is, Germany ke andar, before the World War I started, you remember that particular person, Kaiser Wilhelm, the king of Germany. Ab hua kya? Once Germany was defeated, that Kaiser Wilhelm, he actually ran away from Germany and went towards Netherlands to save his life, to save his face. Right? He didn't even stand with the people of his country. He actually ran away from Germany and took shelter in Netherlands. That was the state of that particular king who brought war to Germany. Up people started realizing that kahin na kahin what we need is not a king anymore, because a king will always look to satisfy his personal egos, right? What we need is a democratic government in place, right? So what happens now is there is a starting of a democratic government in Germany, which was known as the Weimar Republic. It was known as the Weimar Republic, right? So that will be the democratic government of your Germany post the World War I. And that is something which we need to understand when we are talking about this particular political impact, right? So that is a very, very interesting idea, right? Weimar Republic will be the same thing which will be captured by Hitler from 1933 until 39. So 33 till 39 will be known as the Hitler years, and it will be controlled by Hitler. Hitler will say, okay, we have this particular building in place, right? That Weimar Republic ka pura parliament building hoga, but the head of that particular building was Hitler. So Hitler created a farce. वो अपने minister सबको रखता था, but everything, every damn detail, every single minute decision was actually taken by Hitler himself, right? That is something which we need to understand, right? So ये सब चीजें हैं which will happen after the First World War, right? There will be the end of monarchy in Germany, and there will be starting of a democratic government known as the Weimar Republic. That is a very, very interesting idea, right? Okay. Next is disintegration of empires in Russia, Austria, etc. Right? Whoever king was exactly ruling in Russia, the name of the king exactly ruling at this particular time was Tsar Nicholas II. So Tsar Nicholas II, when he was ruling in Russia at this particular point of time, till 1917, what happens is he was not able to properly look after his people. The point is that Tsar Nicholas II should not have been fighting in this particular war at all, right? Because Russia was not in a state to afford its resources for war, and that too for such a long time. But Tsar Nicholas, as I said, was an absolute monarch, was a dictator. So for him, his personal ego was much more than the common people. So what happened is he indulged Russia in war, and despite the repeated calling by the people that we should disengage ourselves from the war, Tsar Nicholas II did not do this, and this ultimately led to this particular idea ultimately led to the decline of Tsar Nicholas II, and what we will have is a revolution in Russia. The revolution in Russia will be twin revolutions in Russia. First will be known as the February 1917 revolution. That will be a kind of a moderate revolution, and that is also known as a Menshevik revolution, right? What is Menshevik? We will understand this when we come to Russian Revolution tomorrow. But the point is 1917 will be the moderate revolution, and the more radical revolution will actually take place in 1917 October, November, right? That will be actually led by a person known as Vladimir Lenin. Vladimir Lenin will be leading this particular revolution in Russia. From there on, Russia will get converted into a socialist and a communist country, right? So that is something which we need to understand. So at the end of the World War I, various monarchies, they also lost, and instead of them, what we have, new and new people coming for the rule. That is something of a very, very interesting idea, right? Now let's go on to the third political impact. Creation of new nation states, right? So there was a creation of new countries like your Estonia, like your Czechoslovakia, Czechoslovakia, right? Poland, etc. Right? So all these countries will be formed. Yugoslavia, for in fact that matter. There will be creation of new states. अब तुम लोग कहोगे कि new states कैसे बनेंगे? We will discuss about this in length in the Paris Peace Conference. But for now, for understanding the concept now, what we need to understand is, if you remember telling you people that Paris Peace Conference, especially the Treaty of Versailles, was a dictated peace, right? It was being kind of imposed on Germany. As I think Khushi has mentioned this. As someone has just mentioned that Germany actually had to pay 6,600 million rupees or 6,600 million as a war fine. Point is कि Germany खत्म कर दिया था. Germany financially इस तरीके से खत्म करा था, और Germany को humiliate और कैसे करा था? जो Germany के पहले German Empire के जो parts थे, Germany में जो monarchy थी, उसके जो captured areas थे, उनको अलग अलग कर दिया गया, right? उनको जर्मनी से अलग अलग कर दिया गया. अलग अलग करने के बाद स्पेसिफिकली जैसे पार्ट्स निकले चेकोस्लोवाकिया, स्पेसिफिकली पार्ट्स निकलेंगे उसमें से कुछ पोलैंड, राइट? और यही क्रिएशन इन चेकोस्लोवाकिया, इन पोलैंड, राइट, यही सब नेशन स्टेट की जो क्रिएशन है, which happens after the World War I, will eventually lead to the Second World War. Because Hitler, as we will study about the Second World War, Hitler क्या कहेगा कि चेकोस्लोवाकिया में, पोलैंड के अंदर बहुत सारे जर्मन पॉपुलेशन रहते हैं जो कि मिसट्रीट करा जा रहा है वहां की गवर्नमेंट के द्वारा, राइट? दैट पर्टिकुलर गवर्नमेंट इन पोलैंड, इन चेकोस्लोवाकिया इज मिसट्रीटिंग माय जर्मन पीपल, सो आई नीड टू फ्री दैट पर्टिकुलर एरिया फ्रॉम देयर रूल. तो बाकी सारे कंट्रीज कहते हैं, स्पेसिफिकली इंग्लैंड एंड फ्रांस, भाई ले ले, जो करना है कर, शांत रह तू बस. अब क्या, हिटलर को दी उंगली कि ये काम कर, तू चेकोस्लोवाकिया में जर्मन पार्ट है वो ले ले, पोलैंड के अंदर जर्मन पीपल का पार्ट है तो वो ले ले, राइट? तो ऐसे करके उसको बोल दिया गया. जर्मन को दी, हिटलर को दी उंगली, उसने पकड़ लिया हाथ. उसने क्या करा, पूरे के पूरे दोनों कंट्रीज को उठा के अटैक कर दिया और कैप्चर कर लिया, राइट? सो दिस इज हाउ एग्जैक्टली द सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर स्टार्टेड. स्पेसिफिकली द अटैक ऑन पोलैंड in 1939 by Hitler led to the starting of the Second World War. जो विक्टोरियस पावर्स थे वो अपनी मर्जी से कोई सा भी नेशन जो उनका मन कर रहा है वो उठा के बना देते थे. That is something which we need to understand when we are talking about the political impact of the First World War. Now let's move forward. let's move forward, right? So the next thing which is important about this is this. Fourth, emergence of US and Japan as new superpowers, right? Up till now, what we have is that Britain, France, Germany, all these people were very, very powerful, right? But now, what is going to happen is that we will see the rise of new nations, rise of nations like US, rise of nations like Japan, who are now going to control the affairs of the world. They are going to prove very, very important, critical for the affairs of the world. That is something which we need to understand when we are talking about this particular idea, that is the emergence of US and Japan as new superpowers, right? So that is what we need to understand. And then the fifth political impact is establishment of League of Nations, especially to maintain peace in international relations, and prevent any such future wars, That is something which we need to understand. And you will see that the League of Nations, when we talk about it, the League of Nations is actually going to prove to be the biggest reason for the starting of the Second World War, right? लोग कहेंगे कि भाई हमारी मदद करो, जिनके ऊपर भी aggression हो रहा है, like China, like Abyssinia, like other countries, जिनके ऊपर भी aggression हो रहा है, they will go to League of Nations कि हमारी हेल्प करो. लीग ऑफ नेशंस कहां से हेल्प करेगा? एग्जैक्टली उसके पास खुद की आर्मी नहीं है, और लीग ऑफ नेशंस के सारे अफेयर्स ब्रिटेन और फ्रांस ही उसको कर रहे थे, चला रहे थे, बिकॉज यूएसए डिड नॉट बिकम अ पार्ट ऑफ लीग ऑफ नेशंस. व्हाई, वो हम कल देखेंगे, बट यूएस डिड नॉट बिकम अ पार्ट ऑफ लीग ऑफ नेशंस. सो लीग ऑफ नेशंस वाज एज गुड एज ब्रिटेन एंड फ्रांस. आप ब्रिटेन एंड फ्रांस देख रहे हैं, अगर चाइना पे अटैक हुआ है, अगर वो जापान पे सैंक्शंस लगवाएंगे लीग ऑफ नेशंस के थ्रू, पॉइंट इज उनको इकोनॉमिक लॉस होगा. या इटली को अगर एबेसिनिया कंट्रोल करने से मना करेंगे तो उनको इकोनॉमिक लॉस होगा. तो वो कह रहे हैं भैया लेट्स डू वन थिंग, लेट्स चिल आउट, जिसको जो करना है करो, राइट, वी आर जस्ट नॉट कंसर्न्ड. तो लोग कह रहे हैं भैया व्हाट इज द यूज ऑफ देन क्रिएशन ऑफ लीग ऑफ नेशंस. वो कह रहे हैं हमें क्या पता, हाउ डू वी नो, राइट. सो दिस इज हाउ एग्जैक्टली लीग ऑफ नेशंस was almost a failure and a very, very big cause in the Second World War, in the lead up to the Second World War. That is something which we need to understand, right? Peace maintain करना था, इससे तो और लड़ाइयाँ करवा दी. That is a very, very interesting idea, right? Okay. Now let's see the social impact. Now let's see the social impact of World War I. Let's just give me a second. Okay. I'm back. So now let's see the social impact of World War I. Right? Okay. सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है सोशल इम्पैक्ट. सोशल इम्पैक्ट के अंदर सोसाइटी जो इतने बड़े वॉरफेयर से निकली है, राइट, अब तक जो वॉर्स हो रहे थे उसमें क्या है, द वॉर्स आर लिमिटेड टू द बॉर्डर्स. मोस्ट ऑफ द वॉर्स इन यूरोपियन सोसाइटी वर लिमिटेड टू द बॉर्डर्स. सिविलियन पॉपुलेशन इतना ज्यादा इंगेज नहीं हो रही थी the wars which were being fought just before the World War I, right? It is only from the time of World War I that the civilian population also got involved too much in this, right? So the civilian population got like उनके ऊपर से बॉम्ब गिर रहे हैं, right? और पूरा का पूरा उनको क्या कहते हैं सोसाइटी में से लोगों को जाना पड़ रहा है. जितने भी मेल्स हैं above a certain age, they have to necessarily serve in the army. That particular practice is known as conscription, right? वो सब चीजें हैं. मतलब कि बेसिक पॉइंट ये है, the whole infrastructure of the society got destroyed, right? So social impact इसलिए भी इस वॉर का ज्यादा देखा जा सकता है because it affected the civilian population like never before, right? So we are now going to see the social impact, right? First impact is impact on humanity. Impact on humanity, right? That is something nobody can deny that. Humanity पे impact कैसे? The point is, कहीं ना कहीं if you have seen some movies, you have seen some documentaries or even the pictures, what you need to see is that the people, innocent people, they were being killed mercilessly, right? Nobody was even thinking about them. Just watch this movie whenever you have time. It is in two parts. Rise of Evil. This movie is known as Rise of Evil Hitler, right? That is the name of this movie. It is available on YouTube in two parts, right? So इस मूवी को देखने के डबल फायदे क्या है? एक तो एग्जैक्टली जर्मनी में नाजिज्म कैसे एग्जैक्टली राइज करता है वो आपको पूरा का पूरा समझ में आ जाएगा. साथ साथ में एक और इंटरेस्टिंग आइडिया है कि हिटलर कैसे राइज करता है वो समझ में आ जाएगा, और ट्रीटी ऑफ वर्साई के अंदर क्या हुआ क्या नहीं हुआ वो आपको समझ में आ जाएगा, और वर्ल्ड वॉर सेकेंड एग्जैक्टली कैसे स्टार्ट हुई थी और एंड कैसे हुई थी. यू विल अंडरस्टैंड इन दिस पर्टिकुलर मूवी नोन एज राइज ऑफ इविल हिटलर. और यू कैन ऑल्सो वॉच दिस पर्टिकुलर सीरीज of 12 episodes on Netflix known as World War II in color, right? That is a very very interesting series if you want to understand कि World War के टाइम पे क्या हुआ था, बाद में क्या हुआ था और पहले क्या हुआ था. That is a very very interesting idea when we are talking about the world wars, right? Okay, तो World War के अंदर ये movies बहुत ज़्यादा important role play करती हैं, right? Okay, now let's move forward. Impact on humanity मैंने आपको बताया. मतलब basically when we saw that particular point, just for an example, creation of new nation states, right? किसी को भी उठा के किसी भी कंट्री में डाल देते हैं और उसको एक नया नेशन डिक्लेयर कर देते हैं. This was actually being done by France and Britain, right? So that is something which we need to understand was totally bad, which was not in good taste at all, right? You actually need to ask people कि आप वहां जाना चाहते हो नहीं जाना चाहते हो. Although some places they were being asked, but most of the places they were being cut off from their mainland, from their mother country, just like Gajar and Mooli. That is something which we need to understand. No consideration of their attachments on anything was actually taken. That is something which we need to understand, right? Okay. Demographic, right? Demographic change, right? Demographic change was something which was very very important, right? Kind of a social crisis, right? It was a kind of social crisis. कैसे? As I told you, most of the people who were participating in the war, they were mainly male, right? ऐसी कोई almost family नहीं है यूरोप में से जहां पर कोई एक मेल जो वहां constituent is family का, he did not die. Most of the males, most of the families actually lost their male constituents. So अब हुआ क्या है? The gender ratio in the society that got totally disbalanced. What we have now is that more of women, more of children, and more of old people population, right? So these three people are now more in number as compared to the male population, as compared to the young population in the society, right? So kahin na kahin se there was this kind of social crisis which we need to know. लेकिन a point यहाँ पर ये आता है कि this social crisis actually proved beneficial for the women, right? Actually proved beneficial for the women because it led to various measures for women empowerment. Various measures for women empowerment. अब society के जो big businessmen, supposedly I'm talking about Germany, they know that they cannot stop the production of male भी नहीं है, right? And factory production is not something जहाँ पे आपको manual power की जरूरत है. What you need is, you just need to tell people that this is how exactly the things are done in such a streamlined manner, in such a mechanical manner, so anybody can do that, right? So what happens is, so after the World War I, more and more women, they got employed in the factories, right? They were even more than men. They were getting employed in a very, very good positions, right? And also at the same time when they started going out, so their voices began to be heard, right? Women were now given more and more importance, right? They were now treated as equal partners in the society. So that is what exactly was the positive outcome of the social crisis. That is the imbalance in the gender ratio, right? So it actually proved to be a boon for the women empowerment, right? That is something which we need to understand, right? So ये सारी चीजें हैं which were there in the social impact. Yes, Manorika, I totally agree with you that the soldier of other nations used to barge into the civilian homes. I'll just give an example. Just listen to this. So what happens is, when I was doing my MPhil, so I had come across an original document from World War I. So in that particular document, there was this particular complaint which was being lodged with the particular police station in North Bengal. Us complaint ke andar, and the complaint was dated around 1941. So that was the original complaint. Us complaint ke andar ye de rakha tha that the Australian soldiers, that the American soldiers who are posted in that particular area of North Bengal and all these areas. So what they actually used to do is, they used to get inside the houses of any person living there, and they used to just lift their women, lift their girls, lift anything which they can actually lay their hands on, the ration, the kind of boats, everything, right? So that is how exactly during the World Wars, even the civilian population was severely kind of traumatized.